My name is Holly Reynolds. I've got a blog called Happy Quilty People. There's a free forum there. I'd love for you to join us. I want to tell you about my project today, and it's talking you through a little bit about how I go through the process of thrifting for fabric. My dog just knocked on the door. I was like, what is that? She's checking to see if she can come in. Anyway, I love to get a good deal on a fabric, as anybody does. I just had the experience of going to a local quilt shop and they have upped their prices. And it just made me think, oh, wow, that's just really expensive. So something I've just learned about is Quilt As You Go made modern. And this is a quilt as you go method that doesn't utilize the binding step in between. That thin binding in between step has always felt very fussy to me. That feels as tricky as, it feels more tricky than just going ahead and making your quilt the regular way. But in this book, I learned a new technique. That's where you take your piece of batting, and then you're gonna sew directly onto it. And then once your pieces are sewn on, as you're sewing them on, you go ahead and quilt them, and you end up with a piece that looks like this. And so I did 2 blocks here. You can see this one, I really did some fancy stitch work on it. I'm really happy with that one. And the idea here is that this is just a fun way for me to sew, you know, anytime I get the chance to sit down and sew for just a short amount of time. I've got a little basket of stuff ready that I can throw into these kind of blocks. Some options here. For this one, I used a center block that was maybe 5 inches and did 4-inch strips sewn onto the outside. Something else that you could do is just a whole piece, a 1-piece block, and then it's gonna look like a big patchwork when you're done. I've seen one that was done with a 9 patch in the center and then bordered. That also looked very nice. So you've got lots of options for different ways you could go from here with a block, but the Quilt As You Go method. And then what you're gonna do when you're ready to sew it together is where your fabric meets up, that's where you're gonna sew a 1/2-inch seam, not a 1/4. Quilters are used to that. It's a 1/2-inch seam. And so then when you open it up, it just looks like your regular seam. And there you go. When you're ready to put it on your back, you're just gonna stitch in the ditch to attach your backing. So this is definitely a doable quilt for a giveaway. If you aren't familiar with some donation places where you can drop off quilts that you've made, check out Project Linus. You remember the character Linus from Peanuts, who always had his little blanket. So this is an organization that gives quilts primarily to children in need, children maybe in foster care or hospitals. Anytime there's been sort of an emergency situation where kids might need a blanket. So this was my idea for a blanket quilt, just to keep some stuff handy. And so since this is a quilt we're donating, I wanted to find fabrics that weren't quite as expensive as quilt store fabrics. So here's what I found. So I went to my local thrift store. Men's dress shirts. You can find barely used men's dress shirts. So when I pull one off the rack at the thrift store, what I'm looking for is, I'm going to check the body front and back for stains. I'm going to look at the collar. Does it seem clean at the collar? Now, it's not that you can't give something a good wash, but if you just start to get the idea that a shirt or a garment is generally kind of worn out and has really lived its best life already, that's not the one you want to get. You want to get one that looks just nearly new. You also want to get 100% cotton. Things that start to have elastane in them have that stretch. You don't want that. That's going to be a little trickier to sew. And particularly in men's shirts, you can find that. So here's how I think about the value of this. You think about whatever your thrift store price is. This shirt was $3.99 at my thrift store. So here's a fat quarter. That's about the same price that I pay for a fat quarter at the store. So this shirt is a size, I see it. It says medium, a men's medium. So here is my purple fat quarter held up to the back of the men's shirt. So you can see that's really pretty similar to the same size and amount of fabric. And then That's not including the fabric scraps that you would have from the sleeves from the front. So what you're gonna do with these, once you get them home, is you're gonna start to cut at the seams. And then I would just carry on, cutting up on both sides of the seams until you've got pieces of fabric that are usable to you as scrap fabrics. So there's that one, was a nice check. This one was just an interesting pattern. You can see that I've found lots of blues. Lots of medium blues are readily available. That's why I thought that would be great for these quilts. Here's one that's a little more white. And then this shirt that I found is a women's medium. And the thing I liked about this shirt is it's got these circles on it, but these are not screen printed on. When I flipped and looked at the fabric, they're woven in. So I knew that was a sign of a little bit better quality of fabric. So this is a women's large. And again, if I hold that fat quarter up, you can see it's really similar to the size of that shirt. So I was really happy about that one. I think that'll look really nice with this palette of kind of grays and blues I've got going on. And this piece I used blue thread to bring that color into there. I found a shirt that was in really good shape, but it had monogramming on it from a company. So even though the shirt was in great shape, nobody else really wanted to buy that shirt. It wasn't useful to anybody else with that big name, company name on it. But again, 100% cotton and a nice green color. So I really was happy with that find. And that one is a size small. You can obviously know that you're going to get more value for your money if you're buying a larger size of clothing, but I just really love the color. And so my general rule of thumb, if it's clean, if it's in good shape, if I love it, if I really like it and I see that it's going to be useful to me in a project, that's when I'll buy it. But I wanted to show you this when we're talking about sizes. So this happens to be a men's extra tall. And so I got out my yardstick so you can see. So that shirt is almost as long as my yardstick, and it was 19-ish inches wide. So really a 19-inch wide and a yard long, and I got it for $3.99. So it's a lot of fabric. It's in good shape, and this fabric has a really nice weave to it, already woven in. So it's not that it's got a very raised texture or a texture that's going to be difficult to quilt, but it's just got a beautiful weave to the fabric. So then the other place that I went to, I just wanted to go see, was we have a consignment store. It's really kind of geared toward young people, I would say, although I think everybody sort of shops there. It's called Plato's Closet. And so here's the trade-off. You're going to pay more there, but it's a better selection of merchandise. So if you don't have any patience for a thrift store or a garage sale kind of a situation, then maybe you want to look at the consignment stores and maybe you find something on their sale rack. So this was my best find of the day. So I'm starting to save Hawaiian shirts because eventually I want to do a Hawaiian quilt. And I think the idea is that my quilt block, the little piece of each Hawaiian shirt, will actually be shaped, kind of a t-shirt shape, kind of look like a Hawaiian shirt. So I found this one, and if you can see the tag, it says Kai's made in Hawaii. So I thought that was super fun to have an actual tag, and that tag may make its way into the quilt at some point. So that one was just super fun to find. Let's see, how much was it? Where's my tag? That one was $12, but obviously I live in West Texas. How often am I gonna find an authentic Hawaiian shirt? I figure it's gonna take me years and years to collect Hawaiian shirts that I actually like enough to put into a quilt. Okay, and then the other thing was, at that same consignment store, I found a pair of Levi's pants, and because they have a stain on them, they were marked 75% off. So these have so much usable fabric. It's a denim, but it is a pink color that I just loved. And the other great thing about this is, because it's officially Levi's branded, I have in mind to do a pocket quilt. And that's where you actually do save these fun pockets from your pants, from your jeans, maybe even the tags go with that. And then you piece it all together in kind of a messy hodgepodge of a patchwork quilt. And it's your pocket quilt. So I've got some great pockets now for that quilt, as well as some beautiful pink fabric that I love the color of. Those were originally $14 and I got them for 75% off. So, those are my tips about thrifting. Something else, you're obviously looking for larger size clothing. Garage sales are another great place. We happen to have a charity garage sale that gets so much clothing donated that once or twice a year, they'll do a special sale that's just their clothing, and they have you actually pay by the bag full. So you just go in, whatever clothing they've got out, put it in a bag, and then that's the amount that you pay. So look out for things like that. You never know once you start looking what you could find, and then maybe at some point in time, you've got enough fabrics that you can go ahead and do a donation quilt. All right, if you've got any tips for thrifting, for finding low cost fabrics that are good quality fabrics, let us know. Thanks for watching.